Still, to this day, probably one of the weakest patients I've ever seen on day one.
Come on, Rachel, you got this.
She was one of our first COVID patients.
She couldn't hold her head up by herself. I mean, she couldn't sit up at the edge of the bed without a significant amount of help.
Sometimes we review these charts and we want to give people a chance, but it is a chance or a gamble.
She was still very much struggling, like I said, to overall conceptualize and understand why she was here.
And then she had one of the most severe cases that we saw and had severe brain damage.
We kind of asked the neurologist, like, point blank, like, what do you think her recovery is going to be like? What do we think about? And they were like, honestly, we don't know, but we know that she probably won't like have the same personality that she used to have.
Who am I? You know, it's from the before and now. It's a totally different person. Yeah, I didn't know. They first thought, you know, they said I had some stroke or heart failure.
The biggest thing was people weren't accepting patients because they weren't sure about COVID. They weren't sure if, like, even if they were negatives, they weren't accepting. During that time, Mary Friva did reach out and say that they would accept my mother.
We knew we had to have a unit, and then we had to build kind of a team for it.
You know, you felt like you were given an important task because not many people could care for them, and you were one of those people.
Some folks were very concerned about the unit and what it meant to have people going on and off the unit. I kind of felt like it was probably almost the safest place in the hospital just because of all the procedural things we were doing.
I knew she had a spirit and a drive to get better, but I did think we had a long way to go.
To the right, to the right, to the left.
When I go to see a patient, it's about how do we help you to get better, to go back to the things that are important to you. We were always talking about our kids, you know, which were very important to her, and what it means as we would make these progressions and these milestones and how close that meant for her being able to go home.
They, you know, dedicated to show me to get better, to give me that much of a hope for me to survive, be there, you know. You live a life. You are not gone yet. There's people out there, you know, who's is gone. And I don't know how I survived. I was lucky enough to survive, you know. So it's wonderful, you know. They, you know, gained their mom from there. They gained the mom.
She had one of the most amazing recoveries I've seen. I mean, she is like what dreams are made of for therapists in terms of how they progress and how they recover, and I'll remember her for my whole career.
Yeah, I think I'll just probably always remember her for being one of our kind of great success stories.
2 months later, maybe a month later, we get a message that they want to FaceTime with us.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, Ken.
We were just so surprised to see how well she was doing.
See, let me show you. Hi.
And it was just so cool to see her get up and walk without a walker that day. Like, it like warms your heart, you know, because you think of just how far she's come from not being able to hold her head up to not sitting to standing with two people in the parallel bars to that, you know. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, that's the dream that's what you hope for everybody.
We had so much fun working with you, Rachel. We were talking about you were a light to us every day when we got to work with you.
I hope that when people look back upon this in 30 years from now, they see what happened from a teamwork standpoint, people's willingness to step up. Again, we used our technology and our knowledge and our, you know, our understanding of what we can do from a therapy standpoint for these patients. They need it, you know, where else are they gonna go? And we did it, and we did it.